In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a hand using a modified contour line technique. First, you want to place your hand in a position that's kind of complicated, and you definitely want to put your palm up. So the idea behind this complicated position is you want you to trick your brain into thinking you're not drawing a hand at all. You're just drawing a lot of shapes and their relationship to each other. So the whole idea behind drawing is you don't want to draw what you think something looks like. You actually are really just working on recording exactly what you see. Now, speaking of exactly what you see me drawing is slightly different than the image of my hand. You can see my left hand as being the perfect model, holding really, really still. And, you have to decide where you're going to start. I decided to start on the side, like the top side of my hand and those wrinkles underneath my pointer finger. And if you look carefully, you can see that I'm really looking at the shapes of the spaces as well as the angles of those wrinkles. Now, what I mean by that is every time I see a line, and contour drawing is all about drawing lines and edges, I ask myself, is it vertical? Is it horizontal? Or is it at an angle? And usually everything is going to be a little bit angled. Once in a while, you'll have a line that's purely vertical or purely horizontal. You'll also see me drawing with an ebony pencil. Now, an ebony pencil is kind of soft and dark. It probably corresponds to maybe a 3B or a 4B pencil. But I can get a really good range of values by just varying the pressure that I'm exerting as I'm drawing. I also have my pencil sharpened to a really good sharp point. Now, as you're working at home, I suggest that you start with an HB pencil. And then as you're working, you want to get, the darker lines, you want to make those a little bit darker. And then you can switch to a 3B pencil to get darker. So you want to vary your line quality as you're, really working on making your drawing as accurate as possible. So right now I'm working on the tip of my pointer finger and looking at that curve. Then I'm looking at the shape of the skin between my nail and the edge of my finger. And looking at that shape between will help me really draw an accurate nail. So one thing to keep in mind is when you're drawing something like a fingernail, don't look at the fingernail. Look at the shape around the fingernail. So you would look at the shape of the skin that you see around the actual nail bed. Now I'm moving on to drawing the base of my thumb right under there. And from my view, that's almost a horizontal, but it goes up a little bit. And then I'm looking at those wrinkles. Another important consideration when you're working on modified contour line drawings, now you are going to glance at the paper occasionally, but the percentage wise should be you're looking at the object you're drawing 80% of the time, and then you just kind of glance at your paper every once in a while to make sure that you're in the correct position. Another thing to keep in mind is you don't want to move the position of your head. So you've got your non-dominant hand being a very good model for you, staying very, very still. And you also have to keep your head in the same position. Once you move your head, and once you move your hand, your perspective is going to change. Now, what I was doing right there is I was looking at where one of the knuckles was in relationship to the other one, and I was comparing them to an angle. Now I'm looking at the width of that third finger trying to figure out about how wide it is, and then working on the curve of that finger as it curves around. And now, as I draw the nail, I look at the shape of the skin of the finger around the nail. Okay, that's how I get that curve accurate. And then I'm looking at that width of that shape of that skin right there on the side of the nail, then working on the curve, trying to figure out where that nail is in relationship to the other nail. Now, that's another really important point to remember. When you're drawing, I like to say in drawing, as in life, it's all about relationships. So with this modified contour line drawing, now I'm just darkening up some of those lines. I'm making them a little bit thicker. I'm making them a little bit darker. But you don't want to use any shading. Okay, this drawing should be done with line alone, but you can vary your line weight. Okay, so you'll see that I actually don't draw the tip of my thumb, and that is because from the position my head is in, I can't see the tip of my thumb. So you're seeing, a slightly different position that my camera is recording. All right, right now I'm looking at where this fingertip should go and where those lines should go in relationship to the pointer finger. And there's the pointer finger, and it's almost in a straight line. But now when I look at it and I can hold my pencil, even with those fingers, I can see that the fourth finger, the ring finger, angles out a little more in relationship to the pointer. So that's actually a little bit of sighting, which I'll get into more in my next demonstration. Here I'm working on the curve of that fourth finger, but I had to place it accurately in relationship to the other two fingers. Working on the nail. Now that nail is a little bit chipped, and I wanted to draw that chip in the nail. And also, I hurt my finger the other day sitting in a beach chair. We don't have our home furnished yet, so we have some beach chairs. Yeah, so that's a little cut that I have on my finger. And in this type of drawing, modified contour line drawing, you want to try to draw, every detail that you see, all the wrinkles. That oh, here, this is very important. This is the mound of the thumb. So your thumb has a muscle attached to it. That's how it can move. And you can see that that line kind of continues underneath that fourth finger. All right, that's the pinky. So I'm putting that little fella in there and looking at where he is in relationship to the fourth finger, the ring finger. And I don't see all of that nail. So it's very important to understand that you want to draw what you see, okay? You're not going to draw the hand that don't draw what you think the thing looks like. Draw what you observe. Your job is simply to record your observations. So you're going to learn how to see intensely, and then you're going to learn how to record what you see. You're also, as you work, you've got to learn how to trust the process. Trust that if you follow these directions and if you go step by step, that it's all going to work out in the end. I think that's a great life lesson, actually. Now, you'll see that, again, the width of the shape of the palm there that I'm drawing is a little bit more narrow than the actual image you see. Here, I'm very, very, very lightly drawing some of the shapes of those wrinkles on my hand and really using my pencil tip very, very, very lightly, almost kind of tickling the paper. So with that, I would definitely use the HB pencil to draw your lightest lines. Now, you also don't want to ever cut your hand off at the wrist whenever you're drawing, an animal or a human or parts of a human. You don't want to cut anything off right where the joints meet. So You want to extend your drawing a little bit beyond the wrist. So don't cut it off at the wrist. And now I'm working on those tendons that I see underneath that bend of my wrist in there. And I'm almost done. And there you have it.